Welcome to Chapter 3, Create and Productive Learning Environments. This chapter will introduce you to how to manage your classroom. Please note slide 34 in the PowerPoint presentation. This slide provides a scenario in which the principal asks you to develop a PowerPoint of your classroom rules and procedures for an open house activity. I want you to be aware of slide 34 so it doesn't catch you by surprise. And you'll be able to complete that activity upon viewing slides 1 through 28, which we will begin at this time. So if we go to slide 2, entitled Creating Productive Learning Environments. Before we begin this chapter, I'd like you to read the critical role of classroom management in your supplemental text. This is pages 1 through 12. This piece will provide you with important background as why classroom management is so important. Slide 3, Creating Productive Learning Environments is the title. Think about managing a classroom. In what way is a classroom, what ways is a classroom like a healthy tree? And post a response on Forum 3 as response 1. What ways is classroom management like a healthy tree? Slide 4, titled Classroom Management. These are the main themes for this chapter, and they are listed on the slide. And we will be defining classroom management as it relates to creating productive classroom environments. We will be discussing how to plan for classroom management and how to implement a classroom management plan. Lastly, we will be identifying management interventions. Those are the themes that we'll be talking about discussing through this PowerPoint. Slide 5, the outcomes for Chapter 3, Creating Productive Classroom Environments, are listed on the slide. An essential or guiding question that can be used relative to these outcomes is, what consideration must be made in developing a comprehensive classroom management plan? Slide 6, titled Classroom Management. This is the question that you will be addressing from your philosophy paper. Note it in yellow. What is your classroom management style is the question. The content from this chapter will provide you with abundant information in which to address this question. In addition, the outcomes listed on the previous slide could be used as an outline for answering the what is your classroom management style question. So the information on on slide 5 can be beneficial to you, and slide 6, the current one that you're on, that is the question that we're addressing at this time. What is your classroom management style? If we go to slide 7, our first topic is the importance of classroom management, a definition. Slide 8, entitled The Importance of Classroom Management. There's a clip that may be of interest to you. After watching it, post ideas regarding the arsenal teachers can draw from that help with classroom management. For example, teachers bring presence to a classroom. What does that mean, and how does that apply to classroom management? Another example is that they bring relationship skills. What does that mean, and how does that apply to classroom management? Post at least 5 ideas and how each applies to classroom management, and post those on Moodle Forum 3 as response 2. Title of the clip, by the way, is Back in the Day. Slide 9, the importance of classroom management. What experiences have you had that illustrate good classroom management and poor classroom management? Write a brief paragraph about your experience and post on Moodle Forum 3 as response 3. Slide 10. Why would classroom management be a concern among teachers, administration, the public, and students? From a beginning teacher perspective, those who leave the field after 5 years often do so because of inability to handle classroom management. As a former principal, if a teacher cannot handle the classroom, then there were multiple problems I had to deal with from students, parents, and other teachers. Being able to effectively manage students is critical to students' learning as well as the school's reputation. The public has little tolerance for excuses when it comes to managing students. Students feel safe and secure in an environment that is well managed and productive. A structure that is focused on providing a productive learning environment is important to all stakeholders. Slide 11, classroom management definition. How would you define classroom management? Develop your definition and respond on Moodle Forum 3 as response 4. Slide 12, entitled Classroom Management Definition. The text defines classroom management as the teacher's thoughts, plans, and actions that create a productive learning environment. Keep that definition that you developed and this definition in mind for your philosophy of education paper draft. Slide 13, titled Classroom Management Definition. The relationship between effective teaching and classroom management is an important one. Do you think effective teaching can enhance classroom management? If so, how? And respond on Moodle Forum 3, Response 5. Slide 14, Classroom Management, a definition. What does gives life to learning mean to you? One way to interpret this phrase is learning can come to life when student behavior is well managed. This is usually accomplished through rules, procedures, routines, and consequences for inappropriate behavior or behavior that disrupts learning. Slide 15, Classroom Management Definition. The relationship between classroom management and effective teaching can be found on this slide. When you increase student engagement through effective teaching, you decrease disruptive behavior and provide opportunities for increased instructional time. This dynamic is related to improved student achievement. Slide 16, Classroom Management Definition. The goals of effective classroom management are to maximize learning. We can see that goal is a critical connection to learning. We can maximize learning through effective teaching, a good classroom and school management plan, and with an eye on preventing discipline problems. However, there is also an internal influence at play. This influence or focus is on providing opportunities for students to self-manage or self-regulate their own learning, helping to make them less dependent on the teacher and more independent as well as interdependent in their learning and behavior are important goals as well. The text points out two classroom management orientations. One is the obedience model, and the other is the responsibility model of management. The obedience model teaches students to follow rules and obey authority using rewards and punishment, and the responsibility model helps students to make appropriate choices and learn from their actions and decisions. Which model do you believe is most important? Do both models have a role in the classroom? What model did you mostly experience during your school years? Slide 17, Classroom Management Definition. Do you believe that your philosophy of managing a classroom could come from the environment in which you were raised? What quote or song best represents the philosophy of your parents in raising you? Is it Freebird? Is it Teach Your Children Well? Or is it My Way or the Highway? Slide 18. One way to look at classroom management is to view how parents discipline or manage their children. In this slide, we have three views. Which view best describes how you were raised? Does the last view, the authoritative parent, seem compatible with the role of the classroom teacher? Slide 19, classroom management, a historical perspective. This slide depicts a historical perspective of classroom management. Read each category and play the corresponding video under the view category. The first view describes teachers as counselors or therapists. Does this accurately portray the role of a teacher as a classroom manager? Read the problem with this view. The second view is that of the teacher as a disciplinarian, and this is a common view. However, there may be a problem with depending solely on this view alone. Read the last view and reflect on the role of the teacher as someone who works at preventing classroom problems. Which role do you believe is most effective in managing a classroom? What kinds of things do teachers do to prevent discipline problems from occurring? On slide 20, we're going to the next theme. If we are to be successful in assuming the role of preventer of classroom discipline problems, we must first start with planning for classroom management. Slide 21, if you go to Chapter 3 Moodle Resources, click on the Planning Classroom Management activity. Using the sheet that has been provided to you, place the items into the most appropriate classroom management strategy categories. Some items can be in more than one category. Compare responses with mine, which are listed on the next link, entitled Planning for Classroom Management Activity Possible Answers. Slide 22, Planning for Classroom Management Student Characteristics. What does consistently enforced mean? Do you think it is hard to be consistent in managing students? What could be the challenges in being consistent? What are the consequences if a teacher is not consistent? When you develop classroom rules, do you also need to think about consequences? Is that where consistency comes into play? Slide 23, Planning for Classroom Management, Student Characteristics. How do you plan for classroom management is dependent to an extent on the developmental level of the students with whom you are working. As you are viewing this slide, jot down on a piece of paper or type into the slide a description of the characteristics of each level. Consider the student's view of the teacher, their view of the school, and the view of peers. So left-hand side describes the stage, and then on the right-hand side provide a description that reveals some insight into the developmental characteristics of students that are at that level. Slide 24, Planning for Classroom Management Student Characteristics. The text provides these descriptions. Do you feel the descriptions are accurate? Would your approach to rules and routines vary depending on the level of the student? How would approach to elementary level be different from approach used for middle or high school? Slide 25. As you consider what your classroom looks like, envision the classroom as a large space. Envision what will be on the floor, the furniture. What type of furniture? The placement of desks, workstations, small groups, large groups. Consider the walls. What will appear on them? What will you use the walls for? Envision the windows and even the ceiling. Could you hang things from the ceiling? If so, how? Read slide 25 and post your idea of what your classroom would look like as on Forum 3 as response 6. Slide 26, the ability to identify class-specific rules and procedures is critical to good classroom management. As you complete this next section, consider the rules that you would use in your classroom. We are going to stop now and We will proceed on section 2 on slide 27. Again, let me repeat. This concludes Chapter 3, Part 1, and we will begin on Chapter 3, Part 2 on slide 27.